One of the questions I get asked all the time is, Ben, if you had to start all over again, what would you do? And I've generally spent a lot of time thinking about this. If someone took everything away from me tomorrow, I had no clients, no business, no reputation, no team, just the knowledge that I'd built over the last 6 years, how would I build another Airbnb business? Now, before I answer that, if you're new here, my name's Ben, and together with my partner Holly, we've spent the last 6 years building an Airbnb business in the UK. We started with no experience in property, no investors, and no portfolio of our own. Since then, we have managed dozens of properties, generated millions of pounds in guest bookings, and over the last couple of years, we've helped hundreds of people start their own Airbnb businesses. Now, here's the interesting thing. My answer today is very different to what it would have been a few years ago. If I was starting from absolute zero in 2026 with very little money behind me, I'd build an Airbnb management business. Not because it's easy, running any business is hard, but because I genuinely believe that it's one of the most accessible ways to get into this industry. You're not having to save a huge amount of money before you can begin. Instead, you're building a business by creating value for people who already own property. And if I was sat in your position today, that's exactly where I'd start. So in this video, I'm going to walk through the exact roadmap I'd follow, the steps I would genuinely take if I was starting again tomorrow. Step 1, learn the business before you try to run a business. I think this is where most people get it wrong. They're so excited about getting their first client that they skip the part where they actually become good at managing an Airbnb. Imagine hiring a personal trainer who'd never been to the gym or a chef that had never cooked a meal before. It doesn't make sense. So why would a property owner trust you with what's often one of their biggest assets if you don't understand how to maximize it? Before I approached a single owner, I'd become obsessed with learning how a successful Airbnb actually operates. I'd learn pricing changes throughout the year, how guest communication affects reviews, how check-ins are managed, how listings are written, how photos influence bookings, how owners receive their reports, absolutely everything. Because when you sit in front of your first client, confidence doesn't come from pretending to know the answers. It comes from actually understanding the business. One thing that we've learned over the years is that guests are rarely the hardest part. The real skill is building systems that deliver a brilliant experience every single time. And that's exactly what owners are paying you for. They're not paying you to upload a listing to Airbnb, they're paying you to remove the stress of running the property while improving results. So before I chased my first client, I'd make sure I understood exactly how to deliver that. Step 2, become the local expert. Now that you've got a solid understanding of how Airbnb businesses work, the next thing that I would choose is location. This is where I think a lot of people spread themselves too thin. They'll see a property in Manchester, then another one in Cornwall, then they'll start messaging owners in Aberdeen or Norwich. Before long, they're trying to build a national business before they've built a local reputation. If I was starting from scratch, I wouldn't do that. I'd pick one town or one city, become absolutely obsessed with learning everything about it. I'd want to know where people stay, why they visit, when demand peaks, when it slows down, which apartment buildings perform well, where the business travelers stay, where the tourists stay, who the best cleaners are, which photographers specialize in short-term rentals, and which maintenance companies are actually reliable. The goal here isn't to know the area, it's to become known within that area, because this business is built on relationships. When someone asks an estate agent, do you know anyone who manages Airbnbs? You want your name to be the first one that comes to mind. The same goes for mortgage brokers, developers, cleaners, interior designers, or property investors. These people are all connected. And once you've built a reputation for doing a great job, opportunities start finding you. We've seen this ourselves over the years. Some of our best opportunities didn't come from adverts or websites. They came from a relationship we'd spent months building. That's why I always say your network is one of your biggest assets. So if I was starting again tomorrow, I'd spend my days getting to know people in my chosen area. I'd attend networking events, I'd introduce myself to estate agents, I'd connect with local investors on LinkedIn. I'd have coffees with people in this industry, because every conversation has the potential to lead to an opportunity. And even if it doesn't today, people remember the person who consistently shows up. Before you think about scaling, become the local expert. Everything else becomes so much easier after that point. Step 3, build the business before you find your first client. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making is thinking that they'll figure it out once they get their first property. The problem with that mindset is simple. When an opportunity finally comes along, you're not ready for it. Imagine you've spent weeks speaking to property owners. You've finally built up enough trust. You sit down for the meeting and they say yes. What happens next? Can you confidently explain your onboarding process? Do you know how you'll communicate with them? Have you decided how often they'll receive updates? Do you know who's cleaning the property? Who's dealing with the maintenance? How are guest messages going to be handled? These are all questions an owner is likely to have. And if you don't have the answers, they'll naturally start to question whether you're right for the job. So before I actively looked for clients, I would build up the foundations of my business. I'd choose my property management software. I'd build relationships with reliable cleaners. I'd have trusted maintenance contacts ready to go. I'd create a professional onboarding process. I'd decide exactly how owners are updated each month. I'd create templates for guest communication. I'd write down standard operating procedures, even if they're very simple to begin with. None of this needs to be perfect, by the way. In fact, it won't be. Our systems today look completely different from what they looked like when we first started. They've evolved over the years of managing properties, solving problems, and continuously improving. But having something is far better than having nothing at all. Because when a landlord chooses you, they're not choosing your personality, they're trusting you with one of their biggest financial assets. The more organized you are, the more confidence they're going to have in handing the keys over to you. And here's something else I'd do differently if I was starting again today. I'd document every process from day one, because one day you'll want someone else to help you. Whether that's a virtual assistant, an operations manager, or just a member of your team. If everything exists inside of your head, you don't own a business, you've actually created yourself a job. So build the systems early. Trust me, future you will be incredibly grateful that you did. Step 4, finding your first client. Now we get to the question that everyone wants answered. How do I actually find my first client? And honestly, I think people massively overcomplicate this. They spend weeks trying to find the perfect strategy, the perfect script, the perfect email, the perfect advert, when in reality, your first client is probably much closer than you think. If I was starting from absolute zero tomorrow, I'd make myself one goal: speak to as many property owners and property professionals as possible. Not to sell them, to understand them. I'd be speaking to estate agents, letting agents, property investors, developers, people at networking events, friends and family, anyone who either owns a property or knows someone who does. Because here's what I've learned over the years: people choose you because they trust you, and trust is built through conversations. I think that's something that social media has made people forget. Everyone wants leads landing into their inbox, but relationships are still one of the biggest drivers in business. Some of our best opportunities have come from conversations that didn't lead anywhere initially, but then 3 months later, 6 months later, sometimes even longer, the phone rings: "Ben, we've got a property. Are you still managing Airbnbs?" That's why consistency matters. Not every conversation needs to turn into a client immediately. Some conversations simply plant the seed. Now, one thing I'd encourage you to do is stop trying to pitch your service. Instead, become genuinely curious. Ask questions. How are they managing the property today? What's working well? What is frustrating them? If they could change one thing, what would that be? Because the more you understand someone's problems, the easier it becomes to explain how you can help them. People don't buy because you deliver a list of features. They buy because they believe that you understand them. And that's exactly how I'd approach every meeting. Not as someone trying to win another client, but as someone trying to solve another problem. Once you've had enough of those conversations, something interesting starts to happen. Patterns emerge. You hear the same frustrations again and again. Owners are tired of guest communication. They're struggling to find reliable cleaners. They don't know how to increase their occupancy or nightly rate. Those are your opportunities. Solve the problems consistently and you'll build a business. It's all about delivering value. Step 5, play the long game. I want to finish with one final thought, because I think social media has created a completely unrealistic expectation of what success looks like. You'll see people claiming they've built these massive portfolios almost overnight. You'll see people talking about dozens or hundreds of properties, huge turnovers, luxury lifestyles. And whilst those things are possible, that's not what I'd be chasing if I was starting from scratch today. My focus would be much simpler. I'd focus on becoming known as the person who does exactly what they say they're going to do. If I told an owner I'd return their call, I'd return it. If I said that I'd send a proposal, I'd send it. If I promised an exceptional guest experience, I'd deliver it. Because in this business, your reputation is your greatest asset. One happy owner can introduce you to another. A great relationship with one estate agent can lead to multiple opportunities. One developer can become a long-term partner. The businesses that last aren't built on clever marketing, they're built on trust. So if I look back after my first year, I wouldn't be measuring success by the number of Instagram followers I'd gained or whether I'd gone viral. I'd ask myself different questions. Have I built a reputation that people trust? Have I created systems that deliver a constantly great service? Have I built relationships with people in my local market? Are property owners starting to recommend me to other property owners? If the answer to those questions was yes, I'd know that I'd built something that could continue growing for years. Because this business isn't a business where you need hundreds of clients. A relatively small number of great clients who stay with you for years and recommend you to others can completely change your life. And that's exactly how I'd approach it if I was starting an Airbnb management in 2026. Not by looking for shortcuts, not by chasing overnight success, but by focusing on becoming the best operator I possibly could. Because when you build trust, growth tends to follow. Now, if you've made it this far in this video, I hope it has given you a realistic roadmap of what I genuinely do if I was starting from absolute zero today. If it has, let me know in the comments what's been your biggest takeaway, or if there's a part of the journey you'd like me to make a deeper video on. Make sure to like, subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.